Well, this is the first kind of live stream. We were gonna actually do this live, and we had some technical difficulties, so we're doing it as a premiere tonight.
Live and a half.
Live and a half. So this is Garrett. He's been on the channel before. I interviewed him and his wife about their process of paying off their house early. I mean, you're only 26?
27 now, yeah.
Yeah, and you paid it off when you were 25?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I wanted to have him on here so that we could start doing some of these live streams where the goal of the live stream is kind of to take more of the news aspect of finance and make it digestible for people to really understand. And I just wanted to make it so that you can take what's going on in the world and put it in context so that people understand how these things are going to actually affect their personal finances. So that's the goal. But we have to make a quick disclaimer because neither of us are financial advisors. And this is entirely just for your entertainment and digestion.
Mostly entertainment.
Yeah, mostly entertainment. So we'll see how it goes. Ohio State is not a sponsor, but I am an alumni from there. And what I have in here is actually not water. It's maple sap, which is just like water with it's like sugar water, basically.
Yeah.
But my dad and I are working on boiling down maple sap into some maple syrup, just for the heck of it, to see if we can turn it into a side income. And it's actually really good. I don't think you've tried it. But
I've had it before, but see, you had me because I thought it was water. So
yeah, well, what's crazy is it looks super clear.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that it was darker than that, but it definitely gets darker when
it could have been some of that black market Russian vodka for all I knew.
Maybe. All right, so speaking of Russia, that's our first topic on my list. And that's because, obviously, with all the Russian and Ukraine stuff going on, we're talking about this completely aside from the aspect of human life and all the issues going on there. But it does have an impact on the economy, not just in the United States, but across the whole world. And one of those is in fuel. And this is something that I found was really interesting. I had no idea, but apparently in 2021, Russia accounted for 21% of the U.S. gasoline imports. Did you have any idea it was that high?
No, I didn't. And I guess actually in researching, I was kind of surprised how actually spread out it is amongst other countries.
Yeah.
But I was definitely surprised that Russia was number one on the list.
Yeah, I was too, because I've always thought that like up until a couple years ago, when a lot of our fuel was actually coming from the United States, I was thinking that most of it was coming from the Middle East.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, same here. And then also Canada. You know, I've always heard Canada, and they were number two, but just that they weren't number one, I guess kind of surprised me.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of when I was doing some research into national debt for one of the videos that was on the channel. I found out that like China holds a lot of the United States national debt, but it's only a small portion of it. Like, I don't know, everyone's always talking about how China has so much of United States national debt, and it's kind of like that with the fuel, where it's like really split up across a lot of different countries and segments, I guess. So yeah. I thought that was interesting. But unfortunately, with everything associated with Russia invading Ukraine, it looks like gas could really go up quite a bit. I know one of these articles that I had pulled up from Forbes was talking about how gasoline could hit an average of $4 a gallon this spring.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think about, because back in 2008, we took a vacation to Canada and gas prices were all the way up to $4 a gallon. And like in Canada, we were paying the equivalent of over $5 a gallon. And last year and this year, you're looking at California and they're paying $5 or more per gallon. So, especially for someone like me who drives an hour every day, like 100 miles, that's just one way. Drives 100 miles for the whole day to just get to and from work. That is an insane amount to be paying for fuel.
Yeah. And me and my wife travel a lot for pleasure. And yeah, we already had a discussion about how that might have to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. It's crazy how high that could get. Another one of the articles that I pulled up was from CNBC talking about how the oil, that's the fun part about living on a busy road. Probably
that guy's burning the fuel right
now.
there.
Yeah, he's burning the fuel. He's like, better burn the fuel while I still can.
Yeah.
It's talking about the oil prices and how the barrel price for oil crossed $100 per barrel last week, which I remember when it got up to that point. Gosh, it was probably 8 years ago maybe, and I don't think it's really been super close to that since then. But so hopefully things cool down with the fuel prices, but there are a lot of variables. So but the next one that I wanted to talk about is the Fed raising rates, which is probably going to happen. Let's see. So tomorrow's the 1st of March. It looks like they're meeting on the 15th and 16th of March. So that's probably when it's going to happen. But actually one of the videos that I am posting, well, the only video that I'm posting this week, aside from this one, is about the Fed raising rates. And what I find is interesting is I don't know how you've viewed the Fed raising rates, but I've always kind of seen it as like, you're trying to get the economy back on pace, but it kind of feels like a kick in the face.
Yeah.
Because it's like, people who are trying to get a house or a car or anything like that requires financing, is suddenly that's taken away from their bottom line, So like one of the things that I read about in my research for this video is about how obviously this hits the lower class the most because that's the highest percentage of their income. So one of the articles that I was reading was saying that the elevated inflation has been driven by the supply chain disruptions and pent-up consumer demand. This is from CNBC. And that's been kind of where a lot of this inflation has been coming from. So I thought it was interesting just doing the research into it, how seeing that the Fed's raising rates actually, the goal is to decrease the amount of consumer demand because things are more expensive. So it kind of slows down, and hopefully that can help with the supply chain issue.
Yeah. Which brings us to one of my articles, which is the largest national or international logistics company was hacked 8 days ago, and they're still offline right now. And it's according to them, they are unable to, I guess, communicate with customs like they usually do in importing goods, and also obviously just lining up, trucks and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all computerized today,
Yeah.
So that could be interesting. They employ 15,000 workers, and they have 300 locations across the world. So more supply chain issues going on right now.
Yeah. When did you say that
happened? Well, it was a week ago yesterday. So
they've been down for a week.
Yes, and in the article, it was on the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
The FBI agent that was talking to the journalist said that on average, a hack lasts 24 to 48 hours. So I don't know what's going on there, and they're not being very transparent in their article, but it's still offline.
Yeah, that's insane because, obviously with the supply chain issues, if you have, I mean, if this company has any truckers who are available to work, but they're not able to work just because their system is down, I mean, that's massive.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to hit everyone that those supplies in the supply chain would be going to, whether it's grocery stores or anything. I mean, the thing about the supply chain is it just trickles down. Everything trickles down and it affects everyone.
Yep.
So I found this article was interesting. This isn't, well, this has to do more so with the markets being down because, I looked at my 401k late last week. I know, but I don't care. I'm like, I'm not retiring for, a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned about it. It probably helps me a little bit more to kind of know where I'm at, for at least for the channel's sake.
Yeah.
But I looked at it late last week, and it was like 8% down since the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. So that's 2 months. It's been 8%. It's 8% down, and that's including the amount of money that I put in every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So 4 contributions in that time, and I'm still down 8%, which is massive.
Yeah.
Obviously. So I liked this article from CNBC talking about the title is when markets go down, investors need to focus on what they can control. And I think that that's a good reminder for us, because a lot of times we get all flustered about something like the market going down, when in reality, it happens. But we just have to realize, like, there are some things that we can control and there are some things that we can't. And one of the things that this financial planner is saying is, like, just focus on controlling things, like improving your credit score, paying down debt, putting away money into an emergency savings fund. Those are all things that you can control. And sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And when it comes to money, there's just so many variables and things that can go wrong. Just do what you can and move on.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So I've got one more. I think you had another one, right?
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the Ukraine thing.
Okay.
So, just with the Ukraine thing, it's not just oil and fuel gas prices. They also are the leading producer of palladium, which is used in car batteries, electric car batteries.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of is, I guess a trap there. It's like, well, gas prices are going up. Well, are battery prices in the electric cars going to go up also?
Yeah.
The maintenance in those. So that's another thing. And even palladium is even in exhaust systems in your gas car. So that's another one to watch. Phone batteries also. To an extent, are these all needs though? So that kind of goes to the what can you control kind of thing. If you need a new exhaust system on your car, that's one thing. But do you need a new phone? If phone prices are jacking up, maybe not.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the whole palladium thing, because in an actual conversation today, one of my coworkers, because we were talking about gas prices, one of my coworkers was like, you know what? It's kind of funny. Like, when something like this happens with Russia and you've got gas prices going up, it starts to make you think, like, maybe an electric car would be kind of nice. And like, I'm not going to deny that. Sometimes an electric car really seems like it would be great, especially when gas prices are going up.
Yeah.
But when you look at the bigger picture and you can see, oh, this is actually affecting more than just gas prices. It's affecting the kinds of supplies and resources that we need for an electric car. That kind of changes your thinking a little bit. So, all right. So the last one that I've got is an article. It's not so much about current news, but it was published just recently, titled 77% of home buyers face unexpected repair costs in the first year of ownership. Surveys finds. Here's how to head off surprise expenses. And I did a video later last year where I was talking about 3 different large expenses that we had to pay for with our house since we bought the house. This house was built in like 1830, so it's very old. And we went into it knowing that there was probably going to be some stuff that we had to fix, because there's a lot of stuff that we're just trying to renovate. And one of the things that was unexpected was the furnace going out. One was the plumbing needed to be rerun outside because one of the trees damaged our sewer line. And then there was the roof. The roof went bad. And the thing that I want people to take out of this is, and you'll testify to this because you're a homeowner, is things always cost more than we expected.
Yeah. And
the issue with the way people think about buying a house, especially right now with, the housing market being so hot, is you have to remember, like, it's not necessarily cheaper to buy a house just because your mortgage payment is going to be less than your rental payment. Because, 3/4 of people deal with unexpected repair costs. Well, if you're like the majority of America and you don't have an emergency fund that's more than $1,000, you can't take care of a $4,500 furnace or a $2,900 plumbing repair or a $15,000 roof,
But then you can just finance it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the financing prices are going to end up going up because the Fed's going to be raising rates.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. The more overhead you have, the bigger your emergency fund should be. So don't get it in your head that just because you're buying a new house means it's a new house. It's new to you most of the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and one of the things that I found, it was just kind of something that came up in my head as I was preparing for this video for this coming week about the Fed raising rates, is a lot of people, like, you've got the housing market that's really hot right now. Everything's hot. The housing market's hot. Purchasing vehicles is hot because, all your used vehicles are way up because of the chip shortage and that kind of thing. Well, one of the points that I'm making in this video is like, hey, just remember, just because the Fed's going to be raising rates, please don't make any rash purchasing decisions. And this fits in with the last article that we were talking about with purchasing a house. Because if you make a rash purchasing decision, then there's a chance that you might regret it later.
Yeah.
And I would almost always rather pay a little bit more for something that I know and am confident that I like and is going to fit my needs and my budget than paying less for something that I'm just like, quick, gotta buy a house before the Fed raises rates.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's the last bit of news that we want to cover today. Let's see, February 28th. And we like to do this on a semi-regular basis, but we'll see how regular it really is. But let us know in the comments down below what you think about some of these different articles, what you find is interesting, and whether, I guess, just if there's any other articles or news stories that you came across in the past week that you think is particularly relevant to personal finances. Got anything else?
Keep on keeping on.
All right, keep on keeping on.
Grow that emergency fund.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.